How would I describe Alison's Pantry? It is a unique company that services moms and housewives, farmers, ranchers across the western United States with food product and also utensils, things that they probably can't buy in the normal store in the market. We do home delivery, but in a unique situation that we have semis that deliver into the area, and then the people are serviced through their distributor, through a mom that sells to them. We're based in Pleasant Grove. All the products are shipped out from here. We buy in products from a lot of major manufacturers. We also do private labeling so that the customers enjoy a wide array of mini products from us. Well, first of all, we really were Wholesale Foods at one time, and then I changed the name to be more user-friendly to Alison's Pantry, meaning the lady on the sign is not me, but I like that old-fashioned look, and she's kind of stirring a pot of something, some bakery item. I started out selling cheese just to neighbors, kind of a neighborhood co-op. We sold cheese, eggs, bread, and milk in Spanish Fork. And I was the head of it. I really loved doing it. I had 2 little boys at home, and I wanted to be able to make a little extra money and help my neighbors doing it through a home-based business. And then the co-op fizzled away, but the cheese lady idea came into my mind. So I hired over time about 85 cheese ladies that sold cheese for me, and they received 10 cents a pound for selling the cheese. And I had a little list that went out of all kinds of fresh cheese, every kind of cheese you can imagine. And we did that for about 3 years actually. And I wanted to broaden my cheese line, so I began to offer nuts and peanut butter in number 10 tins. And it really goes with moms, people that really love quality and love to buy in bulk. And we were better priced, maybe not than the lowest priced store, but it was quality and very fresh cheese. So after the cheese business grew and grew, I tried to find a company that would package the nuts for me, because with the FDA requirements, Department of Ag, I couldn't package in my home. And I found a little meat market there in Spanish Fork, that's where I lived, that would package my nuts for me. And I'd grown up with probably the ethic of doing all the work myself and making just a little bit of money, so I had no idea that I could actually hire people to do the work for me and that I could still make money off after I paid all the bills. So I found a company in Pleasant Grove and called Wholesale Foods that packaged the nuts for me after I finished off doing it a couple seasons in the meat market, because it was really cold there. At night when I would go, my husband would watch my boys. So after I found Wholesale Foods, they said, well, we're going to be selling Wholesale Foods, you know, it's no longer productive for us. And I thought, well, maybe I could merge the cheese ladies in with their wholesale food distributors. And I asked my husband if we could afford the $15,000 to buy the business. That was how much it was. It was like, oh, I don't know if we could do it. It was a lot of money at the time, back in 1987. And we did. We bought the business, and I just began to work every day. A lot of times my boys would come to work, mainly eating candy, but they said they worked. And they did work a little bit, but I had the boys at work a lot. And then over time, the business, my 85 cheese ladies assimilated into wholesale food distributors, and then we began to buy semis, and it grew and grew from there. In the beginning, we had like no freezers, like a pallet jack, not even a forklift. I had to talk the semi-drivers that delivered food to unload their own semis. That's how it was in the beginning, with no processes in place. And then gradually we grew and grew, and we built this building, this large building here, and then we added on to it. And I changed the name to Alison's Pantry so it would be more user-friendly. Well, I'm a goal-setting person, but I'm always really driven just to do things. I come from a really poor background, and so I think anything I made was rich. I felt rich. In fact, the first year when I was going to pay my taxes, I called my tax guy, and he knew how much I'd made, and he told me to sit down because I had an amount that I owed, and I broke down when he told me. I started to cry. I'm like, how could I ever pay taxes? I hardly made any money. I didn't even take food home at the time. That's how much I wanted to keep it all in the business. I didn't have the mentality, I didn't have the business background to understand that if I took home wholesale food that was wholesale price, I'd actually save my family money. I just kind of hoarded it here. So I learned a lot over time. I just kind of learned from books. I didn't go to college. I wished I would have, but at the time I didn't. There were a lot of circumstances that led up to selling the business. It had grown to about $8.5 million in 1999, so it was quite large. And even though I had all the processes in place, because I'm so emotionally attached to everything, you know, it became larger and larger, more difficult. And that was the year, if you remember, that was the Y2K year. And so everything was huge. Everyone was motivated to buy food because they were worried that the end of the world was coming, which we loved. It was great, you know, to market and capitalize on a big time bomb on some of the catalogs, because you never know, the end of the world's coming, so they should buy a lot of food, which we sold a lot of number 10 tins at that time. But I had a son that was involved in the business. His name is Jeremy, and he had died in 1997, excuse me. And so it was really a lot, emotional, and just a lot of a heavy burden on me. And so I looked into maybe I should sell the business, and it was difficult, a real difficult time in my life, because I loved my employees. It was really hard for me to make that decision, but I contacted a broker, and within a really short amount of time, like very short, maybe 2 months, the business was sold. And my husband's an attorney, and so it really helped with putting it all together. And I was excited. It was stoked, or whatever you want to call it. I was loving the thought of being free of all this. Even though I love it, I love what I do, I just felt like I needed to get out for a while, become more involved in my community, in my school. One of my boys was still in high school, and I was a PTA president. But after I sold it, I remember coming into Alison's Pantry, and I hadn't told my employees that I'd sold the business. My accountant knew, so it was kind of incognito, and I brought them all into this purple carpeted room. It was their break room, and I got up in front of them and told them that I'd sold the business. Oh, they all started to cry. I started to cry. And I said, I know I love all of you, and I couldn't do it anymore. We couldn't do it. So I introduced who the new owner was going to be, and gave him the keys and told him I'd stay for a while. And it was really traumatic for me, but I started biking and doing all these things I love to do. And over the years, as I heard about the business, which I still stayed in touch, I heard that things weren't going very well. The overhead was so high because of the huge debt load. I tried to give him advice, but business owners are so arrogant sometimes they won't take advice. And I'm the same way. And so I understood his reasoning, and within about 2 years it collapsed into total bankruptcy. And so I thought about buying it back, because they still owed some money to me, but in the meantime a couple of my people got together and they found an Asian investor, and they went ahead and purchased it, and so it was bought twice. And then in 2004 the man that was the investor called me to see if I'd run the company for him without being an owner, and I said, oh, I'm such a freak about ownership. I have to own it. I don't think I can run it for you. And so anyway, it transpired that I bought the company back. Day one of coming back into Alison's Pantry, first of all, it was very dirty, and we had to all clean up. We all wore nothing like what I'm wearing today. I looked horrendous. We all just tied our hair back. A lot of the same employees were here, even though the sales were probably not even $1 million for the year. It was really some bad sales. And so we all decided that we would just buckle down and get the place all cleaned up and get started again. And I had to get the feelers out to all those people that used to sell for me to let them know I was back. But it didn't matter to some of them. They really still felt, you know, maybe I'd been a traitor. Who knows what people think, like going to a bad restaurant. They don't want to forgive you. And so it took a long time, a lot of tears, a lot of family, a lot of being here for hours and hours on end. And you know, I thought I would kind of break, but I didn't. I don't look like I could break, but I can. And I'm sure with the help of the Lord too. It was a lot of work, and we were able to bring it back finally. It's taken quite a few years, actually about 3.5 years just to get it to this point, to where it is today. Okay, to regain the trust of the employees and also my customers was a challenge. First of all, the employees wanted to be sure that, of course, they're going to be paid. And if I wouldn't have sold the company, I couldn't have bought the company back, because it was quite expensive to buy the building and everything. Because when you start a company, you grow small, and I didn't believe in a line of credit or anything. And so when I bought the company back, it was just a lot of cash. And my husband was really good to me and allowed me to do it. But I don't know, if he wouldn't have allowed me, I probably would have done it anyway. I don't know, I'm so driven. But anyway, he did allow me to take all this money out of our retirement and stuff, and bought the company back. And the employees, I have love for them anyway, and so I think that just over time they knew that I'd be paying, you know, we got health insurance and all the things back that they needed to be able to survive as people, because you need health insurance. And not all of them came back at first. I mean, we had a very small crew here. The customers, we did a buy one, get one free idea. I wrote testimonials. I wrote little statements on the catalog from Alison, and I've actually kept the from Alison the whole time. I didn't earlier. I didn't feel like that they needed that contact with me, but now I write a little article every month about my life, about how much I love them, about the food. I just stay in touch so that when they see me, or when they have questions, they'll say, well, Alison's there, so I know it's going to be okay. That's how we are. We're kind of based that way as people. We want to know that there's really an Alison behind the pantry. And so that's how we regained the trust of the customers. It took a long time, I can promise you. It's nothing that came fast. And it was mainly our key people out in the field that brought the customers back, saying she's going to treat you right, the products are going to be right, just give her a chance. And then we finally did it. So I feel really happy and proud. It wasn't just me, it was, you know, my people, my employees, all the good people out there in the field that did it. I think one of the real key reasons that Alison's Pantry is so viable for these people is that they feel somehow that they're helping another individual to have success in their life, to have extra money. And so when you buy from a friend and you're buying an excellent product and it's consumable, then it all works together. And they love that, you know, Mrs. Grover down the street is my distributor, and I buy from her so she can have extra money for her kids' braces or whatever it is. And then when she sells a good product, that they know for sure that Alison stands behind it, that her company is going to be there if there's any problems, if their Orange Bakery cinnamon rolls raise out of the package, she's gonna take care of them, things like that happen. So it's not just the distributor, the Mrs. Grover, it's also that they know that behind every product is a 100% guarantee, that we say if you don't like a product, if you use a product and you don't love it, we will buy it back, or we'll pay you for that. And some of our own products, we actually have a double your money back guarantee, which is crazy, but we've hardly had anybody ever do it. If we had a lot of people do it, it wouldn't work. I think that's maybe why, you know, I think that when people continue to buy from a friend and they feel the camaraderie with them as well, that actually binds you to the company and to the individual and helps her. So that's probably why. Well, distributors are the lifeblood of the company because they know those people in their area. And as far as the distributor, the uniqueness of her or whatever, I think that when they recruit on, sometimes they're not a really great distributor. We have to do a lot of training and encouraging them to use the marketing plan and to call their customers back. Really basic tools in the business world that they're not even aware of. Some distributors don't make good distributors. They're not doing it as a business. They're doing it as just kind of a sidelight, and so they don't make good distributors. So eventually they hone themselves out because they're not happy. But overall, the distributors are very good and they do very well. And a home-based business is wonderful to be able to stay home and make some extra money. So I think it works really well for them too. I think that just a really a work ethic and the ability to say to our people, if I say I'm going to do it, I will. And that you need to be the same, and be sure deliveries are done in a timely manner. Be sure that the freezers are on. Be sure that your customers know to get the product, pick it up, and of course to pay in a timely manner. I guess it all just works, you know, because they feel that commitment, and I don't know that they've learned a lot from me. I think we learn from leaders just the feeling that we get that they care about us. I think that if I talked about leadership, I would think about the leadership here at Alison's Pantry. That my employees know that I expect the very best, and I'm kind of a stern person when it comes to, I want all the hours filled. I don't want people on their personal email. They know that that is my ethic of my life and my work ethic, and so I expect them to be the same. But I still love them. I still treat them really, really well, and so, but I still think if you expect the best out of people, they will give you the very best, and they have. And there are times we have problems, and I'm emotional, kind of emotionally based about things like that, but I always try to come back with more love and understanding of their life. I've made mistakes here. Like I remember one time I was in my office upstairs, because this is a new office, and I had a camera system. Heaven forbid. We had it for outside the building to monitor people and activity that would go on that was petty theft, things like that. And we don't have one now, but we did at the time. And anyway, I was looking in the camera, and I saw that one of my employees was talking and kind of kneeling over and just spending a lot of time. And so I look at my clock and think, well, okay, I'm going to take a time here of how long he's doodling and daddling about, and jumping to conclusions like I do sometimes. Sometimes being a woman is not the best thing, but it is what I am, so I have to take it. And so I call over the intercom after about 10 minutes and ask for that person to come to my office. And he comes to my office, and I'm like, you know, you're just, I don't know how long you've been out there, but way too long. And so he tried to explain to me that he'd been hurt and that the other employee was trying to help him. And I just got almost teary-eyed that I had totally jumped to conclusions. So I learn a lot from my employees too. I'm not always right, and that's probably the arrogance sometimes that business owners have, that we think we know everything when we really don't. And so there's a happy balance, and but I do expect a lot out of employees overall. Well, now that I'm a grandma, the future for Alison's Pantry, I just continue to try to improve the marketing and work towards someday leaving the place. I don't know when I will be. That's why I really purchased it back again, was I had 2 boys, and I thought, I've always wanted to be one of those people that gives, or doesn't give, but learns how to dutifully, or to give the company to the boys, but have them pay. Because I don't believe in just giving anything to anybody. I want them to work for it. And so my plans were that Josh and Jesse, my 2 sons, would take it over, but then Jesse decided he didn't want the company. And but Joshua, he wanted the company, and so he's the one taking it over. So that really was my plan, was that eventually I would build the company back up, and then I would give it to Joshua and go on LDS missions, or whatever we're going to do with our life in the future. One of the most rewarding experiences, this all sounds really emotional, but of course you can tell that's my life, is working with my boys. Like, to be a mother and to watch your children grow up is wonderful, and to see them go to school, but to actually see them at work and call them into my office and be able to have talks that I normally could never have talks, because they actually get to miss work, and so they're probably more respectful of my time. But they lift me, and they're just a great, huge part of my life. And it's not very often that mothers get to work with your sons and actually get along with them. I do have a really, I have a unique personality. You know, I like things my way, and so the boys have learned to kind of go along with me, but I also have learned a lot from them. I've learned to stop telling them what to do and to kind of watch them grow. And we both learn from each other. We have a great respect and a great relationship. So that's my joy, is coming into work and having them lift me up and throw me around. My husband's smaller than they are, so they get to lift me up physically. I love it. And so that has been probably the greatest gift. The values that have led to my personal success. It's hard to talk about yourself like that, but I think growing up in a really poor background has really helped me to appreciate money and to appreciate the value of work, and the whole ethic of whatever I say that I'm going to do, I'm going to really work hard to get it there, and if I can't get it done, I'm going to call you and tell you. And just being that way in the business world is refreshing, and also brings people to you, and over time bankers and companies respect you, and so whatever you say, over time your bond is your word. I think that when we have problems at Alison's Pantry before, when we first started back and I couldn't understand the problem, I'd actually just come in my Levi's and work it, work down there with the warehouse, try to figure out why they're having the problem. That's something that I've always felt like you can't be a business owner unless you've experienced almost every aspect. I can't experience accounting exactly like my accountant because my mind doesn't work in those numbers, but I feel like that if you go on their level, then when you expect of them to do anything, they really will rise to the occasion. We try to surround ourselves, I do, with people that are better than me in every area. So much of what we are is really our employees. It's just the basis of probably happy employees makes for a happy business. So. My hopes for Josh when he takes over the business, I think the main thing is that he will feel the passion that I do. And if you have the passion for what you do, you can accomplish anything. And not to have fear that things will fall apart. That to know that there's a process that's been going forever and ever, and people need food. You give good service, you give good delivery, and it's going to keep on happening. The trends of our day won't really change for Alison's Pantry because people still need the food, and the areas that we deliver to are very remote. And so I can't imagine that people won't need the food over time, but if he continues to source out good products and have a fire in his belly with the business and treat people like he has and like we've been doing for years, he'll accomplish great things. He'll be able to pay off his house.